20% of our contacts in HubSpot were out of date.
It could be still an old title, even 6+ months old. I guess that's the main issue, is that they're not showing contact information. Purchasing lists through vendors, the issue with that is the accuracy. You tried understanding our unique problem first, and then helped us also determine how we want to go about scraping the context.
We were specifically looking for a pretty fast cycle time, and you guys were really able to deliver that. In fact, sometimes we're like, oh, we're not ready for the next step. You guys are too fast. So I thought that would be the best way to go about it and ensure high quality results, and also save us a lot of time, because I doubt I could have figured it out on my own.
I'm Andrew Chin. I'm the marketing manager here at CollegeVine, and I'm focused, at least right now, a lot on events and helping support the business development team in driving a lot of demos and closing sales.
My name is Evelyn Shi. I'm currently a special projects manager at CollegeVine. And yeah, we're building AI agents for higher education and just working with universities to optimize how they operate and, the whole administrations of higher education.
The sort of problem that we've been having is making the best use of our BDR's time. I guess our company is just very, very particular and intentional with how our time is being used. We use HubSpot as our CRM, and it can get kind of messy with determining which leads to reach out to first, because there's a vast amount of context in the CRM, just knowing which one's the target, and also just the issue of staying refreshed, because within higher ed, there's also a lot of change. And we want to make sure that our CRM is most up to date to reflect these changes, whether that's changes among institutions or changes among the titles of promotions, and even institutions closing down or some new institutions opening up as well.
Just to note, our BDR, so Business Development Representative Manager, estimated that about 20% of our contacts in HubSpot were out of date. And so, as Andrew said, that led to a lot of inefficiencies and calls and emails not going through. Once I joined as a special projects manager, I took on the project of looking into whether we could build our own workflow and update our contacts by scraping the web. But when I looked into it, I was like, this is actually really hard. And I found that it's actually really commonplace to work with clay consultants or clay agencies. I spoke to some of my friends outside of work, and they said their companies had hired clay agencies before as well. So I thought that would be the best way to go about it and ensure high quality results, and also save us a lot of time, because I doubt I could have figured it out on my own.
Some of the issues we've had in the past is, so what I would do is I'd work with contractors through Upwork, for example, and we would have, I guess, humans manually go through each of these websites and identify the most up-to-date contact information that they can find. But the problem with that is a lot of websites aren't reflecting, maybe at that given time, the exact inaccurate reflection of the team that's working there. I guess that's the main issue, is that they're not showing contact information. So there's no way for us to find that contact information. So we're always lacking contact information when working with Upwork contractors. And when we opt for purchasing lists through vendors, the issue with that is the accuracy. So accuracy as in, they are sometimes if we were looking for a president title, for example, that could mean a student body president of the institution instead of the actual president of the whole university, or just a president of an organization within the university. And also just not being able to, I guess, vet that list. You kind of just import it in, and then you end up flooding the HubSpot CRM with a lot of unqualified contacts, which just makes it much more complicated to clean up. We actually still use ZoomInfo, at least currently. Our BDRs use it, but it's more of a manual refresh. If they come across a contact in HubSpot that is lacking information, a lot of them use the ZoomInfo plugin with Chrome, for example. So they would be able to just check if that contact exists in ZoomInfo and if they can update it. But another thing that we've noticed too is that even with ZoomInfo, it's not as up to date. It could be still an old title, even 6+ months old. And in addition to having old data, they obviously still lack a lot of context. If we have 40 contacts at a given institution, for example, sometimes we only somehow find 6 qualified titles within ZoomInfo. So it's still missing a lot of information.
So our manager, Christina, has been aware of Clay for like the past year or so. I've also personally heard of it myself, though just because I was kind of like attuned to, full companies that were kind of on the rise. So I have heard of Clay before, and that really helped me with the buy-in. But Christina has been like wishing, quote unquote, for a Clay workflow that could automatically refresh our contacts and make things like both automated and efficient for our contacts in HubSpot. It just like we never got around to actually doing it at like over the past year. I was poking around on the Clay website, and I think there was a section that had like trusted partners of Clay, I believe. So you guys were like authorized to work with Clay, and then I remember filtering for like people with expertise in like linking Clay to HubSpot and like refreshing contacts. And I think Sculpted came up when I applied those filters. I remember emailing a couple like other agencies slash like individual contractors, but I think that you guys just got back to us really fast, and because we had a fast cycle time, like you guys being able to like set up a kickoff meeting like within the next few days, that was really helpful.
The way it was set up was really helpful in that, Jacob, you had that kickoff call with us. Evelyn was able to prep me a bit beforehand because she met with you first, but I think you still were able to introduce kind of what the project could look like, give the whole scope of it, and then also really try to understand our problem first. So I think that was really important for us, is you weren't jumping straight into solutions that have maybe worked with previous clients or current clients. You're really focused on understanding our problem first, while also actually trickling in a bit of like things that came off the top of your mind of like how maybe you would approach it, but you still want to hear more of the problem, and have, I think, Matt also help out and really fleshing out a much stronger program for it. But yeah, I think that was one thing that stood out to me, is just that you tried understanding our unique problem first, and then helped us also determine like how we want to go about scraping the context. Because we came in probably similarly to the Concept 3D with wanting to scrape the existing university websites, thinking that was the best approach. And then you kind of showed us a different way after hearing sort of our main concerns and what we were looking to do.
It does tend to be the case with vendors. I've learned that quickly, that sometimes they promise a certain timeline and they don't get to it. But genuinely, like for Sculpted, I've been really surprised pleasantly at how fast you guys are and like really efficient. You guys are able to provide updates as you're working as well, which is really helpful to follow along. But we were specifically looking for a pretty fast cycle time, and you guys were really able to deliver that. In fact, sometimes we're like, oh, we're not ready for the next step. Like, you guys are too fast. So that's been really good.
So speed is one thing, but I will say that, and Evelyn and Christina and I have talked about this too, you guys are all like very smart, intelligent people, and I think we recognize that in the way that you guys communicate with us. It's very structured. There's not as much back and forth in trying to understand what you're saying. And also what's really important too with what people should be looking for in a vendor is just trust, right? Like once we kind of give you a set of instructions, we trust that if you understand, you'll move forward. If you don't, you'll ask the right questions to understand. And then we found that throughout the process that you did understand us. And then even if you didn't, like I said, you were asking those questions to identify that sooner. And there were things that you guys also did that I guess saved us time, in just like a Loom walkthrough, for example. Like we never asked for Loom walkthrough, but Matt was able to send a bunch of Loom walkthroughs, and they're only like 2 minutes each. So they're very quick. And I think that helped us just understand rather than jumping on like a 30-minute call trying to understand what he did. It saved us time doing that too. We have some dashboards set up in HubSpot, and we are kind of working with our BDR manager to have that team give the feedback that we need. But I think we're still also figuring out how to properly report on that. So I don't have like a great answer for you yet. I think generally like it feels, at least compared to what I've done with working with the Upwork contractors versus the lists that we've purchased outright from vendors, it does feel better. But one thing we realized is that with our refresh, it didn't account for people who have like left institution, for example, and we didn't really mark that. So then the refresh, like while the contact information maybe is accurate, that person might have left the institution and we don't know that. So we kind of realized it very quickly when BDR started calling that list. So we had them only focus on the net new list as of right now. With calls, it's not just the connect, it's like everything, every step, connect rate, like what goes to voicemail, what doesn't, who picks up, all that.
I'm optimistic based on the samples that we have seen before the whole output was run. It seems there was like pretty comprehensive information. In terms of accuracy, like I remember cross-checking things and I was pretty happy with what the sample provided. So yeah, we're curious to hear what the sales team has to say.
Yeah, Sculpt is awesome. That's also why we're kind of like deciding to move forward with potentially more projects with you guys. Christina and our, not assumptions, our like general feeling is that like this is way better. Because what we were doing before it was not great. When we looked at the test, we looked through it. I mean, even the fact that you're able to get us like 4,000 something net new, and all the titles like seemed good. We haven't heard any complaints about, oh, the wrong titles in there, right? And I think we had issues with that from my Upwork contractors and from just buying the lists outright. There was always a good amount of titles that are just not the right ones.